Remove the wheel, take a 22mm socket, remove the lug nuts. Take the wheel off. Take these caliper bolts off right here and up here. Use a 13mm socket, or on the top one you might want to use a wrench. It might be easier to access. Slide that out. Now just pry the caliper out. This side, it pries out from the top, and then you raise it up. The opposite side might be different. Slide this over here. You can use a caliper hanger, and then just find something to hang it from. Like right there, that's good. Just make sure there's no tension on the hose. Slide the brakes off, brake pads. There's this shield. You want to remove that shield. Use an 18mm socket. Take these two nuts off. I'm going to slide this bracket off. Now take these two bolts out. Use a 18mm socket. Grab the bracket and just slide it off. Take the rotor off. You can take a hammer and just hit in these locations. Just be careful, don't hit the studs. Just trying to loosen it up a little bit. You could also hit it from the backside right here. There it goes. And slide it off. Now we're going to clean up some of the rust on here. You can either use a die grinder, just be careful, don't take too much material off, or a wire brush works well. I just sprayed this down with a little brake parts cleaner, and now I'm going to use some copper anti-seize. This is just going to prevent the rotor from sticking in the future. Just a nice thin coat. Take the rotor, put it on backwards first. Take some brake parts cleaner. Spray it down. Wipe it down with a rag. You can even do the inside here. And flip it around. If you have to adjust the parking brake shoes, you can adjust it right there. There's the adjuster right there. There's also a door on the back. You can pop that out if you already have everything all back together. And just slide the rotor on and clean this side as well. We're going to clean up the bracket now. Just use a straight blade screwdriver. Take off these pad slides. You can take a wire brush, just clean up some of the rust. Once it's clean, just take a little bit of caliper grease and grease it up. Take the new caliper slide bracket and slide it on here, and do the same on the other side. Now slide this bracket over, and you can take some thread lock adhesive and put it on the bolts if you choose. Get those lined up. Now I'm going to torque these bolts to 129 foot-pounds. And line this bracket up. Put the nuts back on. Now you can torque these to 30 foot-pounds. Now on the caliper, you want to take these caliper slide pins out. There's just a rubber boot around here. Just slide these off. A little bit of corrosion on this one. Spray this down with some brake parts cleaner. Might want to take a wire brush and clean this up a little bit. And because there's corrosion in there, just spray this down as well. Clean that out the best you can. And just take some brake caliper grease, grease up the pin, and slide it back in. Might be a little bit tricky. Try not to rip the boot. Make sure it slides nice and good. And make sure it's sealed. Then do the same on the top one. Now install the brake pads. You can either take a little brake caliper grease and just put it on the slides right there, or just on the ears of the brake pads. And slide these in position. Now take the caliper hanger off. Then I'm just going to bring this up here. Now we're going to compress the caliper. You take one of the old brake pads and a caliper compressor tool, and nice and slow compress the caliper. As you compress the caliper, it's pushing brake fluid through the hoses up to the master cylinder into the reservoir. Yep, it's fully compressed. And slide the caliper in position over the brake pads. And it's going to go on the same way it came off. So the bottom's going to go first. Right, that's going to go like that. And slide it up. Put the bolts in. Now tighten these down. And torque these to 27 foot-pounds. Take the tire, put that back on. And put the lug nuts on. Now we're going to torque the lug nuts down to 148 foot-pounds in a cross pattern to tighten the wheel down evenly. Now make sure you pump the brake pedal nice and slow. There's going to be an air gap between the brake pads and the rotor. That feels good. And check your fluid level. Make sure that it's up to par. If you have to adjust the fluid. Make sure you clean the cap before you take it off and put the cap back on.